Now, the main event are the 4 scholars who have been with us this last year at Emory, and they're going to do reports about their year. We're going to start with Jessica Leech. Jessica is originally from Aberdeen, Scotland, and at St. Andrews, she studied international relations. Each of these scholars, this is a group that had 2 years as scholars, 1 gap year where they were waiting to come over, and then this year. In her gap year, Jessica worked remotely for the St. Andrews curriculum team in the academic registry. And she also did research for a St. Andrews think tank, the 3rd Generation Project on the intersection of climate change and gender-based violence in Indigenous communities. So Jessica, would you like to come up and talk about what you did at Emory?
Thank you so much for the introduction, Dean Brzezinski, and thank you so much for having us here. I mean, what a week it has been. This has been out of this world being at the Masters. I've never had so much fun on so little sleep, so thank you to the McKennas for the social calendar as well. I remember before I came to Emory, I was speaking to my mentor, Gordon Taylor, about what classes I should take. And I said to him, I'm a political scientist, so I'm going to take the most challenging political science classes they have at Emory. And Gordon said to me, do you know, if you're the same person, if you don't change during your Jones year, if you're the same person as you were when you began, you've wasted this year. And so I'm standing here today to tell you I am a political scientist, but I'm also a rock climber, yogi, photographer, golfer, and certified wilderness first aider. So thank you to Gordon. But this year has changed us in so many ways. Academically, I did branch out, as well as the ridiculous amount of time I spent in the PE classroom. I also took classes in law, development practice, Middle Eastern studies, and visual arts. These were fantastic opportunities to expand my knowledge and understanding, and also to approach subjects that I've already studied from a different discipline and to see different ways of thinking about them. It was really important to me that this year I also engaged with the wider Atlanta community. I was very lucky to be able to intern in Commissioner Nunn's office in the Department of Community Affairs. This has been such a fantastic opportunity to watch legislation pass through the House and the Senate and to be in the Capitol building. I've been looking at some proposed legislation on homelessness, and it's been so powerful to see the experiences of so many people in Atlanta and the programs that are there to help them. I've also volunteered for a campus-based organization which supports local refugees with their college applications. Again, it was such a powerful opportunity to see these incredible stories of these students and meet with them and find out what the plans they have for the future. These 2 experiences have really reinforced the privilege that we've had this year and the opportunities we have had, and also the responsibility that comes with it. As Pierre mentioned, we have to repay our good luck, and so I hope that we can do that going forward. Of course, needless to say, this year has changed my relationship with the game of golf. I come from a family of golfers and do not share their hand-eye coordination. And before this year, I have to say I didn't share their appreciation of the sport, but that has changed considerably. It has been so much fun to spend so much time at Eastlake, go to the range for afternoons. It's been fantastic. I have to say, I leave this program a golfer, not for my ability to get out of a bunker, but for my appreciation of the sport and my desire to continue. I think the main change for me this year has been in understanding what the scholarship is about. Before I came here, this was the greatest honor of my life, to be able to study at Emory and travel the US. And do not get me wrong, we have had the most incredible experiences. We've been to a rock concert in Arizona. I saw Christmas time in New York. I watched snowfall in the Capitol in DC. We're at the Masters. We've had enough once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to last several lifetimes. But I think what we realize is the real honor of the scholarship is becoming part of the Bobby Jones community. The value of the scholarship truly lies in the warmth and the kindness of the people. I could stand up here all day and talk about the ways that everyone we have met has shaped our year, every invitation, every piece of advice, every word of encouragement when we are still finding our feet. It really has been an honour. I remember before I came here, when I first got the scholarship, my parents, I called them up to tell them, they said, I don't understand. Why are these people giving you so much? And I said, well, don't ask, because they might reconsider. But now I think we do understand, because every act of kindness inspires more. And I see that in the 3 best friends that I've made. You know, through this year, we've experienced so much, and we're so excited to give back and to help future scholars as we go on. You know, I'd like to finish with a quote from Bobby Jones himself. When he was collecting the Freedom of the City of St Andrews, he was reflecting on his time in the city. And he said, such a spontaneous display of warmth and affection I have never known in my life. I think it's a really fitting tribute that this warmth and affection has lived on in his name. And I really hope that we can carry that forward. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year, but I know that we have had the absolute time of our lives. I've made my 3 best friends, been able to experience so much with them. So thank you to everyone, because you truly have changed our lives.
Our next scholar is Ryan Thorne, who's originally from Glasgow. And I'll tell you just a piece of trivia about Ryan. It turns out he's a twin. And I discovered this when I walked into the spring reception and saw someone who looked like Ryan, but was not Ryan. So we were very happy to meet his twin brother. At St. Andrews, Ryan completed a joint degree in geography and management. During his gap year, he was very productive. He studied for another St. Andrews degree, an MLit in international business. He was involved in the Young Persons Guarantee Leadership Panel, tackling the economic and social effects of the pandemic on young people. And he also worked part-time for Career Ready, a national social mobility charity. So, Ryan, do you want to come and talk about your year at Emory?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Dean Brzezinski. I just want to start really by saying thank you to everyone, my family, my friends, and of course St Andrews. The University of St Andrews is world class, and the experience of studying there for 5 years instead of 4 was more enrichment, and I think grateful for that would be an understatement. The St Andrews experience and the St Andrews effect is indeed remarkable. It's rare and it's enriching, and I have been so fortunate to be the first in my family to attend university, and the first in my family to also attend a world-class university like St Andrews. So my last name is Thorne, with an E, and I want to draw a comparison here, which is perhaps unconventional, with the 15th hole at Augusta National, which is Fire Thorne. And I've been thinking about that, and I've been trying to understand what it means. I would love to hear more from our members about what that name is in name of, and I've been trying to understand what fire means, what is that word, and I think that's what geographers do. We try and unpack meaning, and we try and challenge the conventions of knowledge, and we try and understand knowledge as something that can be challenged and is subjective. And so I've wondered how I represent that in my own life, and I think really it's drive and desire and determination, and I've always sought to inspire to do well and do good work, and ultimately just aspire to better. And like I said at the start, I wanted to thank my family, and part of that is remembering my recent grandmother who has passed away unfortunately last week. And the reason I mention that is not to dampen the mood, it's rather just to remember her memory and the impact that she had on my life, and indeed my twin brother's life. She was a lovely woman. She was kind. She was, I guess, like Bobby Jones, she did her best to make sure I was prepared for the world, and part of that was her values and her integrity. And when I say she was kind, sometimes she took a different approach. She used to say, Ryan, your speech is abhorrent. She'd say, speak clearly. Or she'd say, stand up straight, Ryan. She'd say, clean your nails. So she was a different kind of kind. She she was a Glaswegian woman, and she understood that there wasn't kindness everywhere in the world, and you wouldn't always be met with that kindness. And she understood that there was a different kind of evil in the world that I would one day have to challenge. And I think we've seen that in recent weeks and months of the situation in Ukraine. So her kindness and her values are what shaped me, and it's what helped me evolve from Ryan Thorne, commoner, to Ryan Thorne, Bobby Jones scholar. And I say that with the best intentions, because I feel so lucky to be part of this formidable network, and it's something that I get to remain as a part of for the rest of time, which is of course meaningful, and that's something that Bobby did in his life as well. It was all about meaning and adding value. And I think I guess with Bobby, what I love most about him was he was not just a distinguished golfer, but also a distinguished academic and lawyer. And he changed discourses, and he did through his life a remarkable work to add value. And I guess that's why I'm here, and that's what I hope to do. There's a quote by Rudyard Kipling, which is part of if you maybe read the poem If, that's my favourite poem, and it says that we should all try and fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. And I'm grateful to have a few more seconds than 60 for this moment. But that's really what I've been trying to do this year, is fill that unforgiving 60 seconds. And time goes so fast, and I think the scholars know that, and in our previous scholars, we all know how fast that moment goes. And so as I sort of think about the last several months of my time here in Atlanta and in Augusta and the US in general, like it's been remarkable. I've been in New York to witness some of the finest Broadway theatre. I've been able to travel up to Athens, Georgia, and see football, and it's all the Americanism. It's a bit different to what we have back home in Glasgow. But I've been thinking about direction and transition through this year, and a lot of it is transition. It's a temporary moment, and it passes quick, and I'm thinking about what's next. And I guess I'm grateful to have been prepared for that through the classes that Emory is world leading, as well as St Andrews is. And I love the chance to work with a Coca-Cola director, Benjamin Jordan, and he is teaching green business this semester. And that's the sort of leadership that I love in learning. It's new, it's contemporary, it's exciting, but it still has that same rigour that we all know that we need to take forward in the world. So I think the ways in which I've grown indicate that the scholarship is meaningful for leadership, and part of that growth, I guess, has been going forward afterwards and feeling more prepared. I think you cannot do it alone, is what I've learned. Coming into the scholarship, I thought, I can go and take this year and just go forward as someone who's been enriched and inspired and whatnot. But I realised you can't do it alone, and that speaks to the huge network that we have here in this room, and I guess it's bigger than I even realised. And I'm much more willing to network now and speak to people, and I feel grateful for that. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I just want to say that the ability to get out of a bunker that Jessica talked about is something that I learned much sooner than I'd like in life, and I guess it starts where I was born and where I grew up in the south side of Glasgow. I think none of us can help the circumstances that we're born into, but we certainly can change and overcome those circumstances as I have, and part of that is this St Andrews, this scholarship, and that's how I can really summarise what we're saying as well, because I've, like Dean Brzezinski said, I've not just done it once, I've done it twice at St Andrews, and then I've had this scholarship. And like my principal, Sally Markson, said, and sometimes in the fullness of time is only when we can experience the fullest extent of our hard work. And I have been so transformed by this experience and by this year. So I hope you guys got a sense of that. All right.
Rebecca Munro is going to be our next speaker. Rebecca is originally from Dundee, Scotland, so when she went to St Andrews, it was right next door. She completed a degree in geography there and then ventured here to Atlanta. But in her gap year, before she came here, she followed the pathway of a number of Bobby Jones scholars. I'm looking in the audience, because I think we may have others, who worked in the admissions office at St Andrews recruiting in Scotland. So she followed a great tradition there. So Rebecca, you want to come and speak about your year in Atlanta?
Hello everyone, it's so nice to see you all. Thank you for having me. It's so lovely to look into a sea of familiar faces. I think back to our first speeches at Eastlake at the fall reception. I don't think I made a coherent sentence because I was so scared and the mic was shaking in my hand. So this is a less daunting experience. I'm so happy that 2019 scholars are here and that you can actually experience the Masters like we have this week. And to our new Bobbies, welcome to the family. This is just the beginning. So we may be the first set of Bobbies to do this. Well, I haven't heard of any other groups doing this, so I think I'm going to make it a thing from now on. But we sat at Eamon's Corner for most of the day yesterday. We saw all of the players, but the last two, play the holes of 11 and 12. I couldn't believe the scene before me. We kept just, I'll never forget that moment to see for myself. But we used our time between the plays quite wisely, in my opinion. We finished these speeches. So please never tell us that we can't multitask. We've been welcomed with open arms into the Bobby Jones community here in the US and beyond. And I don't think we truly acknowledged that until we touched down here in Atlanta. Well, touchdown in Atlanta. The people that we've been honoured to meet have gone above and beyond with their hospitality, advice, and kindness. But like Jess has said, we've also been swept up into the game of golf, voluntarily, I should add. This definitely helps, being at the Masters, I suppose, as well as being invited to some of the plushest golf clubs we will probably ever see. But I really think it's due to how seriously we've been taking our golf lessons at Eastlake. It's funny when you put 4 St Andrews graduates together in a competitive environment. I think I've pulled muscles trying to hit my driver over 150 yards, and David Dromer will tell you that. We must also thank our instructor, Nick Otten at Eastlake, who not only puts up with us weekly, but has actually put us to a good level where we could probably hold our own next month when we play Augusta National. I'm so honoured and humbled to be here in the name of the great Bobby Jones and to now be a part of the history and tradition of an unparalleled experience of this scholarship and this week. Spending a week at the Masters sure makes us forget that we actually have academic commitments back at Emory. Such a shame. But seriously, my class selection this year has stretched me thin at some points, whilst it has nurtured interests that I've never had the privilege to study before. I've chosen a few classes to help me try and figure out my future career. I've taken law classes, as well as business and international relations. IR didn't make the cut. Don't worry, broadening my knowledge didn't stop there. I also took classes in gender and women's studies and Middle Eastern studies, but I also balanced out a little bit with taking photography and yoga, so that was good. This semester, I've had the honour of conducting some research with Emory's Vice President and General Counsel, Mr. Stephen Sensor, a connection made by Dean Brzezinski. I do understand that I'm Mr. Sensor's first ever research assistant, so I'm so sorry if that doesn't happen again in the future. We're okay. I've also been able to travel a little when I could whilst I've been here. I visited New Orleans. Note that I say New Orleans and not New Orleans because I've been there. That was the top of my list before coming out. We've also day tripped to Savannah. Don't do that, it was brutal for that drive. And we've been to Phoenix to see Jeff. And I also got to visit Chicago in December, where I wore 6 layers. Traveling to the US and visiting different states constantly reminds me that I am a geographer by trade. There's actually so many geographers in this room, when I think about it. We always ask questions about humans and the spaces they have chosen to be and why they're there. And so I've been fascinated with American culture and hearing from so many different people on their life and their history. I've noticed that I always try to understand a place holistically, a skill that I learned in my undergrad and one that will probably not leave me. And as well, studying at Emory and being surrounded by Americans all the time has helped me understand the great vastness of this country and just how different one state is from the other. At St Andrews, there were some times where I was the only Scot in the room, but truly that is the case at Emory. And, I'm a little bit I stick it like a thumb. I don't think we can quite believe that we've been here for 9 months already. Time seems to have sped up this side of New Year, yet we still have so much to look forward to. Although, as Dean Wyszynski said, we're unique in the fact that we have technically been scholars for 2 years, but I'm not sure I fully recognise the Rebecca who applied to this scholarship back in 2019. Obviously, so much has happened in that time to encourage my own personal development. I even feel that there is a difference in my development since the start of this year here. 9 months ago, I suffered hugely from imposter syndrome and did not feel confident in my ability. But now, with the help of so many in this room, I still feel the same. So you should do a bit better. No, truly, I do feel a lot more confident in myself, and I think speaking and learning from so many different people that I've met on this scholarship has helped with that. And I also think the constant praise helps a bit too, don't you think? I do want to give a huge thanks to someone who has mentored me throughout my entire journey as a scholar, Jean McClure. There's love hearts around your name on my little note here. I think you have been my biggest champions since we were first paired as mentor and mentee. From all the Zoom calls last year while I worked remote, you set me up for life in the US, the world of law, and shared the most amazing stories of Bobby Jones. Thank you for continuing your support this year and only being a call away. I'm so glad we were brought together and are now lifelong friends, and I would not be able to be at any of these events without you cheering me on. Forgive me just a second. I have so many notes. Hold on. Forgive me. It's not, that's why I said it was okay. I do also want to say a huge thank you to Ian Miller. I can't believe you're here. I feel so lucky that you're here. The summer of 2019, Ian and I were working in London, and we were taking a break from our duties, and we're in the Sky Garden. And that was the first time that Ian and I had a proper chat with the scholarship, because he was about to embark on that in a few weeks' time. I was super on the fence about my application to this scholarship, but Ian encouraged and advised me throughout the initial process, so that I decided to apply. Quite glad I did. I owe you a huge thanks, Ian. I'm so happy you're here. Nobody could have told us that day that we would have been sitting at the Masters together. My last couple of thanks is just to everybody who has genuinely supported me in the scholarship this year. You have praised and encouraged me from the get-go, and I'm really going to miss that when I go back to Scotland. But I would like to finish with thanking my fellow Bobbies. We've done all right, haven't we? It's all right, isn't it? You've probably already noticed this, but the 4 of us genuinely move as one entity. Have you ever seen us on our own? I think we get separation anxiety when somebody leaves a room, and I think that's, like Jess was saying, like, we're genuinely best friends. So, that's just something so special this year. Ryan and I have actually lived together for 2 years, so I think Ryan is the biggest trooper for putting up with me for 2 years. I know you're probably sick of the sight of me and happy to go back. Robin, you've made me laugh every single day since we touched down. No matter my mood, you know exactly how to make me feel better. Sometimes it takes you 2 minutes, sometimes it takes you 5 to get a smile out of me, but I look at Robin now and I just laugh. So that's like, if you're ever feeling upset or melancholic, please go and speak to Robin. And Jess, the love of my life. I honestly could not have done this year without you. And you've been by my side through this, through the bad times and the good. Jess and I got to live alone in the apartment in January whilst the boys were back in the UK. And I think that really solidified our relationship, and we truly got into a routine like two old women. But I honestly can't believe that there's going to be a time where Jess and I don't brush our teeth together at the same time every night. Like, I'm so sad thinking about that. But you've just been so amazing in my rock this year, and I just will cherish you for the rest of my life. And our biological sisters are never to hear this, but you're truly my sister. And I'm so excited to see where we all go, but especially where we go in our friendship. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here.
Last but not least is Robin Legg, who is originally from Manchester, England. As he knows, he doesn't hear this often, so I tell him every time. I love Manchester. Manchester is one of my favorite cities, so he tells me that that's unusual. At St. Andrews, he did a degree in computer science and economics, and in his gap year, he secured a job as an IT network engineer at a local high school. But today, he told me he had another accomplishment during that gap year. He grew his facial hair. So he managed two things. I think that, I'm just guessing this, but I think that the reason why this group is out of order is because Robin is a noted raconteur, and nobody wants to speak after Robin, and so they put him last. Have I got that right? So I don't want to raise expectations too high, but I'm happy to introduce Robin.
Well, I think that's a lot of pressure now, isn't it? I was just thinking, how do I follow all the amazing speeches that have happened today? But, you know, the way it started, I think, go back to the beginning. People kind of questioned when the pandemic happened and everything got delayed. They were like, oh, is this a good use of your time? Is this like going to be a great opportunity? Like a year's time, people are going into jobs, etc. And now look at me, I'm living proof that a man can live for 5 days off pimento cheese sandwiches and beer. So, I mean, not a wasted opportunity, right? But, you know, so as Dean Brzezinski said, I'm from Manchester originally, as you can probably tell by the sunburn on my neck. I'm the only Englishman of the group, so naturally I tell them exactly what to do and they begrudgingly do it. But next year I think they are going to file for independence. So sadly, that's not going to continue. As Dean Brzezinski said, I did my degree in computer science and economics. I originally went to St. Andrews to do just economics. And part of what's so great about St. Andrews is you get to try different things like the system is over here. And I kind of fell my way into computer science just by saying yes. And that's something that I've tended to do all my life, is just say yes and then think of the consequences later. And what a kind of scenario it's ended me up in. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I was chosen for this scholarship, because I think learning about the great man over the last year, I think that's something he did particularly well, was always say yes about opportunities and really take those on. It's why we're sat in such a fantastic club right now, I think, because he says yes to opportunities and really makes the most of them. So we kind of move on to the present, and I'm trying to keep saying yes. Much like my golf swing this year in the few balls that I seem to just continuously hit at the left-hand side trees at Eastlake. I don't know what they've done to me in a previous life, but I seem to hate them. It didn't start off fantastically well, unfortunately. In the first few months, I was scammed, I was ill for 4 weeks, and Dean Brzezinski crashed the Jonesmobile quite badly. But that's a different story for a different day. But I think my low point of the year was trying to get into an Irish bar and being rejected with my UK ID. That's quite a low point for me. But, you know, much like the golf, I still enjoyed it, you know, regardless of the downs and the ups. One of the things that I've managed to do this year, again, by saying yes, is join a fraternity. So I wanted to make the most of the college experience, so seemed like the thing to do. How I joined, still a little bit hazy, as I say. A lot of yes and a lot of initial few weeks at Emory being a bit hazy. But I've been there now kind of 6 months, and I've created 80 lifelong friends. And I think that's something that we don't have as much back in the UK. And I truly wanted to highlight that as something that's been a huge part of my year. I walked into there, and then not only did I make the 500 Bobby Jones friends, I also made 80 new ones as soon as I walked in that front door. So I know some of these will probably be watching this at some point, so thank you to them. And in the past 2 weeks, I've been incredibly honoured by them by becoming their Brotherhood chair. So I've been appointed to their executive committee, which is a fantastic honour, and I get a little bit emotional about thinking that all these chaps that have only met me 6 months ago heard the accent and went, "That's what we need in charge." So it's just been incredible, my time there, and you'll note no internships on my CV. I'm sorry, that was time spent at ATO. But I have done a lot of travel whilst I've been here, so I was lucky enough in October time to go up to Boston to see my mentor Chris Shottle, who very graciously hosted me up there and introduced me to a game that I just thought was called Rounders, but apparently it's a big thing over here called baseball. I don't know. We played it in primary school. And so that was fantastic. I also got to see my best friend from high school. He plays soccer. I can't believe I've just said that live on camera. Football. Up at UNC, and so I got to go and see his senior night, which was something I never thought I'd be able to do. So that was something really special that was given to me by the scholarship. I spent, in December, went over to Phoenix to visit Jeff, and we had a great weekend over there, I think, as Jess already mentioned. And then in Christmas time, I got to go to New York with my girlfriend, and that was the most magical time I think I've ever had. I think we ate, I had the best Christmas Eve I've ever had. I ate Joe's Pizza, whilst having a McDonald's overlooking. Oh, there we go. So I think that was one of the best experiences I've ever had at Christmas time. We got a really lovely Christmas present of COVID, which was fantastic to come back to and find out. However, silver lining was 4 days in the very nice Emory Conference Hotel with all our meals put to our door and a big screen TV. So it wasn't all bad. And then, as the girls mentioned, I managed to go back home in January. Class was online. So I got a very cheap ticket, which involved 4 stops and about 38 hours to get from here to Manchester. But I turned up at my parents' front door, having not told them I was coming. And the look on their faces is something that will live with me forever. My dad was, for the first time in his life, speechless. And my mum just cried. So it's opportunities again, the little things with this scholarship that this scholarship gives you is truly kind of, for me, the measure of how great this thing is. Since then, spring break, I managed to hit both American highlights. I did mountains and beach in one week, which was fantastic. I went to just outside Chattanooga camping, where I had the most unique experience of my life, walking into a local mart there to order some fries, and found out that with my fries I could order a side of shotgun, which is a little bit different than England. And then we went down to Destin, Florida, to the beach for a few days, and that was where I learned that for some reason bars won't let you in if you're wearing a life jacket from the marina. Not myself, but one of my friends. So, well, that's lesson learned. Alongside all the travel, I've been working for a really hard taskmaster, really brutal boss, Dean Brzezinski in the OUE office. But no, jokes aside, it was been a fantastic kind of month or so working on the front desk and getting to know everybody there has been amazing. So it's been a great experience too. So alongside all this, kind of in the gaps, I've managed to do some classes. So I've done, I carried on with my computer science, so I did some AI, which was really fascinating and great. But really what you all want to hear about is the theatre, golf, yoga, what else have I done? creating new works. Like, it's been an incredible experience. And on top of all that, I think I'm now qualified for the country club because I've done classes in yoga, tennis, and golf. So I think I'm all set. So that kind of brings me on to the future. You know, we've got one of our favourite songs that we've had down here is by Blake Shelton called God's Country, and there's a line in that about the devil not being able to stick around, and that's just like me, unfortunately, with Georgia. So I am next year, and I've been telling these guys a little bit of a lie for the last week. Last week, I got accepted onto the UK Civil Service fast stream to do project delivery, so I'm really happy. I hadn't told these guys for a week because I wanted to like create this moment, so I'm sorry if that was very selfish of me, but I don't regret it. So that's what I'll be doing next year. So I'll be doing project delivery down over in London. And as you can see, I'm getting a bit emotional because I know what I'm coming on to next, which is all the thank yous. This scholarship really does mean the world to all of us. And to be able to stand here in front of everybody that's been able to give us that, it's truly inspiring and humbling. So thank you all of the committee that really made this possible, and everybody that, you know, gives money to allow people like us to do what we do. It's amazing. Thank you, Dean Brzezinski, for always organising things and putting up with me at your front desk every day. Thank you very much to my wonderful mentors, one of which is at the back there, Boone, who've been really helpful the whole way, whether it's been bar suggestions or class suggestions. They've both been just as useful. And I already mentioned Chris, who sadly isn't here today, but thank you to him as well for all his advice over the time. There are three other people that I want to thank. Before I move on to these wonderful people at the front. One of them, there's two of them, they've split roles this year. So one of them is Van Tong, who isn't here today, but she was the one that welcomed us over here. So I really want to say thank you to her. And then an amazing kind of successor to her is Lauren, who sat at the back there, who Lauren gives a wave, who has been our rock over the past few months, and it's just been phenomenal. And her husband, Andrew, who's welcomed us into their home, and amazing. So thank you very much for that. It really means the world to us. Next is Jeff McKenna, who's been hosting us this week. And as Jess said, very little sleep has happened. So thank you very much for that. We've had a fantastic time. So thank you, Jeff, for all that. And then, give Jeff a round of applause, for definite. One of the quotes when I was looking for this speech, Bobby Jones said, friends are a man's priceless treasures, and a life rich in friendship is full indeed. And I think that's all I can say about these guys. And all of you are friends, but these guys have been just incredible over the year. You know, Jess and Rev have just been like sisters and mums to me over the year. I got one bit of responsibility before we came here. I got given the passes by Lauren, and Lauren was like, you need to bring these to the Masters. I said, okay, I've got this responsibility. Come on, Robin, you can do this. The day before we go to the Masters, I get a text from Jessica going, I packed the passes so you don't have to worry about it. So I think that just shows kind of the level that we're at. Rebecca has just been such a rock. You know, you are a rock star to me, and making you laugh is the only thing that I can do in return for such amazing things that you do for me on a daily basis. She's the person that always checks if I've got anything between my teeth, or she was the person that actually, when we first came here, taught me how to tie a Windsor knot. So she's been really great out there throughout this whole period. Last but definitely not least is Ryan. I think Ryan's the only person I've met that enjoys talking to people more than I do. So Ryan is a rock star, and I'm sure he's going to do amazing, great things. Just kind of to link it back round to finish, people questioned, you know, whether coming here was going to be a good decision for me. And another quote, the second quote of the day, sorry, from Bobby, but he said, the real way to play golf is to take pleasure not in the score, but in the execution of the strokes. And I think that's just such a good way to summarize what this year has been. It's not about the scores. It's not about the friends that are doing fancy jobs or whatever they're doing. This year and these strokes that I've been taking this year have been the most pleasurable of my life, and I would not change them for a single thing. So thank you very much, everybody, for everything that you've done. And have a great rest of your Masters. Thank you.